Name's Clint Curtis. I'm the new ROV. And we are going to have the best elections in the entire state of California.
The country, baby, the country.
Country will be next, but I can only shoot for California.
Okay.
I think small. Anyway, so we're going to follow the law to the letter. You want me to jump? No. Oh, light on me. I look much better in the dark, I'm telling you. But we're going to follow the law to the letter, which most places don't. In fact, I find most people don't even know the law, which shocks me. We should be able to bring quite a bit of money back from California. For the last 20 years, there's been a law in the books that California has to reimburse from general fund for mailings we do with our ballots. It's on the books, it's a mandate, state has to do it. You never have, not once. You've never filed for it, you've never received it. So we're gonna see how far we can go back and get all of that mailing money.
Yeah.
I'm hoping enough to buy a building. And maybe a sports car to go with it, I don't know. Anyway. So we're gonna try and get that back, but they just don't follow the law. There was a lot of problems with the previous ROVs, especially as far as being transparent, letting observers come in, letting them see what's going on. And that's a major problem. In the last election, when they had the little overspray issue, which I still have to check that out, because that only happened in 2 counties in the whole United States, and this guy does every state in the union. How did that happen? I don't know. I'm going to find out, though, because it just seems a little odd. Makes you go, So questions always make me look. But we're going to basically replace them with internal printing, so we will handle our printing. We use HART, which is, I don't like machines at all, but if you have to use machines, HART's not bad. HART's one of the better guys. So I've seen the least problems out of them. So they have a high-speed printer, and they sell the paper that goes in the printer with a watermark and numbers, so we can legitimize each ballot, and it's 7 cents a ballot, not $2.20. And they guarantee it will work with their equipment. Well, they better. It's their printer, their paper, and their counter. But how do we get around elections being able to be altered by the machines? Because that's a big problem, right? That's where I got my start. I wrote the initial code that was able to flip votes. And it's really simple to do. Really simple to do. And, they gave you the excuse, well, it's not connected to the internet. That is a false argument. There's no such thing as an internet technically. It's a matter of networking. You can network with Bluetooth. You can network with ArcNet. You can network through your home wiring system. There are networks everywhere. It's just a matter of the program that you talk with. Internet's HTTPS. Maybe it doesn't use HTTPS, but it could use anything. I used to write encryption at NASA. You make up your own. It only has to set a flag, and you can change it. So how do we fix that? How we fix that is we take everything and we put it back to the precincts. So when the mail-in ballots come in, and this is a big problem right now because the mail-in ballots come in and they get opened and people will be able to see them and will be able to duplicate them. And a lot of times no one's around when that happens. In the last election, that was the norm. They went in the little rooms, they duplicated ballots. They may have done them right, they may have done them wrong, but the point is, you don't know. And in an election, you need to know. You need to know every step and make sure it's perfect, right? And even if you're bored, you don't want to know, you need to know that you could know if you wanted to, right? You might be too lazy to know. But to know that you could look it up anytime, that'll do it. So what we're going to do, we're going to take those ballots. We're not going to open them. We're going to validate the signatures, and we're going to do it on camera so everyone can look at them. In the last election, they did validation by sitting there and poking through the buttons. Anybody go to that at all? No? Did you? Did you see anything? Because their average was 1.2 seconds per validation. That's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. As a lawyer, I did a lot of cases where we had handwriting analysis to find out, someone wrote the check, someone did this, someone did that. It took them 2 weeks. So apparently we should fire those people and get the people that worked at the ORB's office, because they can do it in 1.2 seconds. Pretty impressive, right? But they're just flying through them. And mostly it's because they just want to get the job done. They don't really care whether it's right or not. In Maricopa County, Arizona, they did the same thing. Push the button, right? So they had someone who signs her name Frank Smith. And the ballot comes in for Frank Smith, and it's got a heart and a smiley face.
That's the signature.
Yeah. Wouldn't you call Frank and say, Frank, are you signing your name with a heart and smiley face today? And when he says no, you'd have him come in and fix it, right? Instead, they passed it. Just passed everything. And it went through very quickly. And it's a little harder these days than it used to be, because a lot of people, the young kids, do not know how to sign their names anymore. They print everything, and it all looks the same. So now differentiation is even harder. So we're going to get software which will break it down, and we will set it high enough that it's valid. But you'll get to look at that anyway. So if you think it's not set high enough, you tell me, we can go back and check it. Because we haven't separated the vote from the ballot. Everything is still there. Everything is still something that can be looked at and can be corrected. If someone comes in and says, I want to hand in my ballot, and we show that they already mailed one in, before, the person coming in, even with an ID, couldn't vote, because their ballot's already been separated and it's already been counted. You can't pull it back out of the pile. It is there forever. There's no way to unmix it. But if you haven't separated it yet, you can now do a comparison and find out which one is valid and which one isn't. And maybe they both are, and the guy just forgot, but at least you'll know.
Right. Yeah.
But you only want to count it once, right? He didn't get to vote twice just because he came in twice. That doesn't count. So they're there. They don't get opened until election night after all the other ballots. So no one has early information on who's ahead, who's behind, or what you want to do with it. So you take it, you open them there, and then you stack them in stacks of 50. 50 is the number we're going to use to send them through the machine. Okay? Now remember, machine hasn't touched it. Machine is still sitting over here being behave itself. So you're putting in stacks of 50 on camera. Anyone can then look at the ballots as they are stacked and make sure they are correct. Then they get transported back to the central office. We then go through that stack again, 50. This video should match this video. If it didn't, something happened during the transfer. That will all be on video too, the transfer, which should be real boring to watch, the body cam of the box being carried back into the office. But that's okay. It's better than not seeing it, right? Better than not seeing it. We want it boring, and we want it right.
Yes.
And that's the key. We want it so boring that there's no mistakes and no errors, and if there is something, we want to catch it. And that's all we're looking for. Okay, so now we have them back, we've compared the two. We're not comparing the two, we're just taking the stack and making sure there's still 50 in it. All you have is the video. We're not counting anything, we're not doing anything. Then we send it through the machine, right? Machines can play magic show if you want them to. That doesn't mean they are, it means they could. And what we're going to do is cover all the coulds. All the coulds are going to be out of it. If you can think of another could, we'll get that out of there too. But you send it through the machine. It does its count. So now it's counted it. Then we take the batch that it just did and we stack it back up to a stack of 50, seal it back up. You have a reconciliation there, there, and there. Those 3 videos should have the same ballots in them. If they don't, you have a problem here or there or there, and you'll know exactly where the problem is.
You've got an audit trail.
What's that?
You have an audit trail.
You have an audit trail. And something that almost never happens in Shasta County before is the number of ballots will match the number of voters. That would be incredible. Last year, you were off by 2,000 votes, which is amazing. How can you be I mean, that's what, 3 precincts completely redone? You know, do the math. You can't have that. So the math will be done all along the way. Therefore, you don't have a problem. You won't gain your votes here. You can't gain them here. You can't gain them here. We'll have a total. We'll then do an audit. The number of audits depends on how many volunteers show up to audit. You know, you want to audit the whole stinking thing? Give me a whole room full of hotels. You know, I don't care. Volunteers, give me 400. We'll do every precinct. I don't care. You give me 5, we'll do 1. So I'm hoping there'll be more. And we'll knock all those out. And then we compare them too. But you can also, if let's say you're a candidate, you lost by 2 votes. You don't trust the machine, right? Good idea. Don't trust the machine. You got a video. Just sit down, look at your precincts, count it yourself. And then, if you're right, then you raise for an audit a direct recount. But you don't have to waste your money up front. You don't have to question it, because you may have actually lost by 2 votes. It happens, right? Yeah. Somebody won by 2 votes, somebody lost by 2 votes. Which one you're on, you know, you hope you're the winner, but you could be the loser. But at least you'll know. There'll be no question. And you can count this one, you can count this one, you can count this one. They should be the same. And I'm hoping people will look at them and make sure they are the same. Because I'm not going to watch every video. I know he is, but well, maybe not everyone. But in your precinct, you know, just do it precinct by precinct. You know, bite off a small bite, make sure the numbers are the same, and we have complete tracking all the way across. As far as what the office will give to the public, we are going to give them everything they want that we can legally give them. Everything. Right now, if you did something, you're going to get it redacted all over the place. That's what they hand out, right? Just a bunch of black marks. I did a lot of top secret stuff when I sued the government, you know, and we get documents in, and it had Department of Homeland Security, and then a bunch of black marks. And that's it. It's like, that's not exactly what I asked for. And so you have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get them to give you something. Same thing happened with the last ROV. If you looked at the stuff they sent out, just all blacked out. So there are some legal requirements that you have to follow for redaction. But whoever's going to redact it will have to put a little number on there what that relates to that it is. They're not going to be able to have the happy pin, which just, you know, go crazy and go, oh, these are redactable. Because most times they aren't. And most times people don't even know. They're just given the redaction job. They go, well, I see a name of a street. I'll knock it out. There's nothing that says you can't have a name of the street. But in their own mind, they just take it and they just draw their line. So they're going to get everything they can. Everything's open. I'm going to try and get the county to set up a new center, which will be open to the public, which will be open for viewing, which people will be able to go in and actually see every phase of the operation as it occurring. Plus we'll have tours if you're really bored. And essentially we'll have places where the observers can stand right next to the station, and there'll be cameras on the station, so it'll be up there. They'll have to be right next to it because someone, and this will be the bad job, because we're all going to have a lounge where people can sit down and watch the same thing. But you need to have someone to make sure that what they're seeing is what's on the video, right?
Thank you.
You got to look at it. So somebody's got to take that duty, even if it's only, even if you trade off, and then once you know it's right, you can go back there and, you know, sit down, have milk and cookies, and watch it in a little more leisurely atmosphere. But we'll have that set up, and so everything will be good that way. So we're going to try and get that. We're doing a mock election already, just to get ready, to get people familiar with doing it the right way. And if they're comfortable, then in 90 days, we will have a full-on mock election for everybody, and maybe the whole country to see. And hopefully that will knock it out, and then we'll be set to go. And you will have elections that everybody can see everything. So you don't need to trust me, because that's the worst thing you can do, is to put all your faith in the ROV.
Right.
Because they can cheat you. And they run for office. So you definitely don't want them to put in there, even if they want that, but they can become power brokers because, they can move things.
How long do you
So-
have to run for the office?
How long do you what?
How long until you have to run?
I have a year and a half to get this done, and then I have to run. And by the way, I have a website now, if anybody cares, that will, yep, that's the paper. It is, let's see, Clint Curtis for County Clerk to 2026. So if you go there, it has a button where you can send money, and we will need to collect some money because, we have a candidate already. And if that candidate wins, you're going right back where you were. And you probably will never see the light of day again, and it'll all be locked down, and it just won't be what you want. This is your chance. This is our chance to build the castle on the shiny hill and make it good. And we can do it. You can do it. You guys actually were excited enough, and you had a council that was involved enough that it dragged my tail all the way from Florida to make this happen. So let's make this happen.